In the long history of Formula One, regulation changes usually unfold slowly after lengthy debates and are rarely introduced suddenly in the middle of a season. This time, however, something unprecedented has truly shaken the foundations of the sport. In just 6 weeks, through 4 major meetings involving drivers, engineers, team principals, power unit manufacturers, and FIA officials, a major decision was finally reached and unanimously approved by all teams. April 20th became a pivotal moment as the 2026 regulations were officially revised, with most of the new rules set to take effect immediately starting from the Miami Grand Prix on May 1st. This is far more than a minor tweak. It is an urgent response to 2 major issues threatening the very essence of racing: safety and the authenticity of competition. A heavy crash involving Oliver Bearman in Suzuka, along with sharp criticism from drivers like George Russell about qualifying no longer being purely competitive, served as the main triggers. The question now is, will these drastic changes be enough to restore Formula One to its true roots as the purest form of racing in the world? Stay until the end, because you're about to discover some truly surprising facts. During the early stages of the 2026 season, problems became increasingly clear, especially in qualifying sessions. Instead of pushing their cars to the absolute limit, drivers were busy managing energy, deciding when to recharge the battery, when to deploy electric power, and even when to slow down. As a result, pole position was no longer determined by who was naturally the fastest, but by who had the most effective energy management algorithm. This situation sparked heavy criticism. George Russell openly stated that the fastest driver does not always secure pole position, something that contradicts the very essence of qualifying in Formula One. To address these issues, particularly the overly restrictive nature of energy management, 2 significant adjustments were introduced in the qualifying format. These changes are designed to restore qualifying as a session that demands bravery, instinct, and pure driver skill, rather than being dominated by system optimization and energy calculations. The first adjustment targets the energy limit, or recharge limit, which has now been reduced from 8 to 7 megajoules per lap. This move aims to lessen the need for drivers to overly focus on energy conservation during a flying lap. With a lower limit, the driving approach becomes more natural, allowing drivers to push their cars to the maximum without constantly sacrificing speed for efficiency. Meanwhile, the second change focuses on increasing super clipping capacity. The limit for energy harvesting through this system has been raised from 250 kilowatts to 350 kilowatts, providing greater flexibility in the energy recovery process. The implications are significant. Drivers are no longer forced to slow down at certain points just to maintain energy balance. They can now continue pushing aggressively without compromising overall efficiency. The combination of these 2 changes delivers an immediate impact on track. Late braking once again becomes a key weapon, risk levels increase, and qualifying sessions return to their true roots. An intense battle of courage and skill, rather than a numbers game controlled by software. While the updates in qualifying are aimed at enhancing spectacle and entertainment value, the changes in race conditions are seriously focused on improving safety standards. This comes in response to several incidents that exposed weaknesses in previous regulations, one of the most notable being the incident involving Oliver Bearman in Suzuka. That crash highlighted just how dangerous large speed differentials between cars can be, often caused by variations in battery energy usage. In certain situations, this speed gap can reach up to 30 km per hour, creating extremely risky scenarios, especially in areas with limited visibility or during sudden speed changes. In response to these potential risks, the new regulations introduce a more controlled and measured approach to managing car power during races. One of the key changes is the implementation of power limits on the MG UK system in non-acceleration zones. In these areas, power output is capped at 250 kilowatts, while in acceleration zones and during overtaking maneuvers, it is still allowed to reach up to 350 kilowatts. This approach is designed to reduce sudden spikes in speed ensuring that speed distribution between cars becomes more consistent and predictable. In addition, the maximum power boost has also been tightened. The increase in power is now limited to a maximum of 150 kilowatts above the previous baseline level. This policy aims to prevent extreme, instantaneous acceleration, particularly during overtaking attempts, which has often created significant speed differentials within very short periods of time. Equally important, a new system has been introduced to anticipate dangerous situations at race starts. This technology can detect cars that launch with insufficient power or suboptimal acceleration. When such conditions are identified, the system will automatically provide a minimum level of power to keep the car moving safely, while simultaneously activating warning light signals for drivers behind. As a result, the risk of collisions caused by extreme speed differences during the opening phase of a race can be significantly reduced. Although often overlooked, regulatory adjustments for wet conditions play a crucial role in improving both safety and performance consistency on track. In wet conditions, a car's behaviour changes dramatically. Grip is reduced, braking distances increase, and the risk of aquaplaning rises significantly. Therefore, a more conservative yet precise approach becomes essential. One of the key changes is the reduction of power from the ERS system in wet conditions. This step is intended to minimise the risk of traction loss caused by sudden power delivery, which, under low grip conditions, can easily lead to a loss of control. Additionally, the tyre blanket temperature for intermediate tyres has been increased to ensure better initial grip right from pit exit. This is particularly important, as the early phase of tyre usage is often the most vulnerable to mistakes. On the other hand, the simplification of the rear light system has been implemented to improve visibility through heavy spray, conditions that often severely limit driver vision. With clearer and more recognisable visual signals, drivers can respond to situations ahead more quickly and accurately. In extreme conditions where visibility is heavily compromised, clear visual information is not merely supportive, it becomes a critical element that can determine the difference between full vehicle control and a serious accident. Every regulatory change inevitably creates winners and losers. Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula One team may lose some of its advantage, having previously excelled in complex energy management, while Scuderia Ferrari and McLaren could benefit, as their systems were less optimised under the previous regulations. Customer teams like Williams Racing may face greater challenges in implementation compared to factory teams. Despite these significant changes, they do not fully address the core issue, battery capacity that remains misaligned with the performance demands of the cars. These updates are better described as refinements rather than a final solution. They mitigate the negative effects but do not eliminate the root cause. All eyes are now on the Miami Grand Prix, where the real test begins. Will qualifying once again showcase drivers truly pushing to the limit? Will speed differences between cars become safer? And will on-track battles return to being more natural and competitive? Share your thoughts below.